All right, welcome back to another episode of the Fast Pass podcast on YouTube. Again, we're doing this live. Normally we do podcasts around here, but felt like, hey, let's jump on the YouTube bandwagon. So, again, this is all entirely live. No scripts, no nothing like that. And the point here, if you listen to the previous, or watch the previous video, you'll see that we did some exploring of the resorts at the Walt Disney World Resort, I should say, by going back in time on Google Earth. There we are. So, we kind of explored with what we could. Now, the imagery should be getting better from here on out. And my apologies for stuttering around here, just making sure we got all of our posts going live the proper way and that we're actually truly streaming live, which appears to be we are. Feel free to drop some stuff in chat. I'll try to monitor that the best I can. The background music will probably fade away here eventually as well, but we're going to go with what we got. So again, thanks for tuning in and watching. If you're watching live, welcome. If you're watching this in the future, hey, that's great as well. Appreciate it. Let's see here. We stopped right around the 90s. I forget exactly what point we stopped. This time I'm actually also prepared with a little bit more background knowledge of different resorts and when different things happen. But at any rate, so here we are. This is a satellite image from January of 1990. So what we'll notice here about it is that there's a lot of construction going on, and I don't know if you can see my cursor all that well, but there's construction going on. This is Epcot. Up here we got Magic Kingdom. There's Seven Seas Lagoon, Bay Lake. And as we move down through the parking lot, now at this time, I believe the racetrack it might be there, it might not be there. I forget exactly when the racetrack was built. But as we travel down here, we will see there is a massive amount of construction going on here. At this time, the now Disney's Hollywood Studios, but before it was known as MGM, Disney's MGM, that was built, that opened in 89. And so what we're seeing being built here now is the Epcot resorts. So we should see most likely the Swan and Dolphin. Most likely it is the Swan and Dolphin and the Beach Club, Yacht Club, and the Boardwalk actually came a little bit later. So, according to my information I have here, the Boardwalk, the Yacht Club opened in November of 1990, and the Beach Club opened the Yacht Club, fun trivia fact, the Yacht Club opened on November 5th of 1990. Disney's Beach Club opened on November 19th of 1990. So full 2 weeks between the two resorts. So that's what's getting built here. Let me just check one quick thing over here on my other stream side. Okay. And so that's what's going on here. We have the Caribbean Beach Resort here being, I don't think it was built just yet. Where is Caribbean Beach at on this list? Oh, it was already opened. So at this time, it was opened on October 1st of 1988. So the Caribbean Beach Resort is built. ESPN Wild World of Sports is obviously not there, and Animal Kingdom is somewhere over here, but not built yet. So let's go ahead and jump ahead here. We're going to do a little bit more exploring. Whoa, okay. Yeah, so see if we can get to, here we go. All right, so we're looking at this height, an image from 1995. Again, this stream will only be going on just real quick as well. It's only going to be going live for about 20 minutes or so here. So if we don't get all the way up to today, that's okay. But yeah, just doing it live, doing it for about 20 minutes here or so. All right, so what can we see here now? First off, image is a whole lot clearer. We have our central shops. We can see the monorail. We can see the power plant, the cast member parking lot, one of the fireworks launching locations. So at this time, let's see here. The Magic Kingdom resorts are pretty much in place. Wilderness Lodge over here is also in place. That was opened May 28th of 1994. So this was not even a year old at this time. The campgrounds were still around. Uh, they've been around since the beginning. But Discovery Island here is going strong, as is River Country. So that's still hopping. Yeah, so I was right. So the racetrack didn't come yet, so there was just this white blur. All the pictures from here on out should be a whole lot clearer. So at any rate, uh, we can see some, I believe, looks like tram cars parked here, I would imagine. Uh, Looks to be about the same size and shape as these. And it's probably, I'm going to take a stabbing guess here. This was February 95, so probably one of the slower times. Gonna guess probably early to mid morning this was probably taken, just because the parking lot is about half full. But I like to say it was slower because they're filling it up this way. I did not work in never worked or knew anyone that worked in parking enforcement and so forth. So, or parking enforcement, yeah, did the parking lot attendants and so forth. So not exactly sure how they exactly park the parking lot, but I would like to think they just work themselves back now. Whereas, um, yeah, nowadays this is getting filled in as well nowadays. The Stoll Port has the X. I think we're gonna maybe loop over a little bit of what I said last time, but Stoll Port, the airport here it has an X on it, so that means that the runway is closed. And at this time, they really weren't storing anything on it. They do have some vehicles on it, but yeah. But that time it's an X, so presuming that it's closed and they're going to be, obviously they could open it back up in this current state. Got some trees growing here across from the Speedway for modern day, the Hess station, I believe it was. So, all right, so let's go back over here. We got Epcot, and we don't have, let's take a look here. So if we zoom in right here, this is Living with the Land Pavilion. You'll notice here there will be some buildings getting built. Soarin' is not built yet. There's no Soarin' yet. The satellite dishes are in place here. There's no walkway back over to this point yet. Horizons is still here. Never got to ride Horizons. I think it was torn. It was definitely torn down before I ever went. And I don't know if I shared it last time, but there's something about this parking lot we're going to focus on here whenever we get into the 2010s. There's something very interesting about this cast member parking lot. It's not really that exciting, but hey, here it is. Let's see here. All right, so as we can see here, this is February of 1995. The boardwalk is still a year out from opening, but we can see the buildings starting to take shape. We have the Swan and the Dolphin. Swan, Dolphin, those are obviously there. Yeah. And over here is where the Cove is getting built now. And over here is MGM. Now, what we'll notice here is we're going to go ahead here and rotate and bring up the Hidden Mickey. So here is the Hidden Mickey. We got the ear and the other ear here where they actually painted it onto the roof. Felt that was very interesting. I mean, obviously I know why they did it, but just interesting. Hey, they painted the roof. But then we got Sunset Boulevard here, and there is really nothing here. The Beauty and the Beast stage now. But yeah, there's right here, there is no Phantasmic at this time. And let me get my bearings back here. My apologies. There we go. And yeah, so we had the Backlot Tour, Catastrophe Canyon, all the housing. It's still somewhat of a working lot. And if we go down here, this is ESPN Wide World of Sports Complex right here. Move my mouse a little bit, but it's not built yet. It has not come into fruition yet. if we go over here, we have All Star Sports and All Star Music. And you may be saying to yourself, sports and music, All Stars. You're missing one, aren't you? There's three there. Well, you would be correct. However, the All Star Movies Resort does not come for another 4 years. And here's the town celebration and Hourglass Lake. And I do believe I already covered this in the last episode, but hopefully this episode is a little bit better. Epcot had a short lived night show. This was before Illuminations, where they actually used ultralight trikes, and this was the airfield where they took off. And this is the part of the land that is now taken up by the Disney's Art of Animation, and on the right side of Hourglass Lake is Disney's Pop Century. We'll get more onto that in just a bit, but for now, this was the ultra light takeoff. The basically a kite with an engine on the back that you sit in, and it's a tricycle type aircraft. Look it up, and the excuse me, and what they are is they're able to take off and land in such a short distance that this is the runway. It was a circle because if the wind was blowing from the north, they could take off straight and however else. So this is just where they took off and did all that. I don't remember exactly how long the show was for, but it was somewhat short lived, and I forget exactly how many there were. There's pictures out there of them. Again, I didn't do a whole lot of preparing for this except making sure I actually knew when stuff was opened. So, or at least doing the best I can with what I got. So, at any rate, we'll be more onto that in just a moment. Let's go ahead, take a brief slide over here to downtown Disney, which was Disney Village at the time. And over here, like we said, this was Saratoga Springs. And Saratoga Springs, when was that open? I'm going to check my notes here real quick. That is considered a vacation club, if I'm not mistaken. It is on the list, and that was not officially opened until May 17th of 2004. So again, this was where they had like Disney University stuff. So curious as to what they were building here, if they were adding on or what the deal was. I did work with a few people who did tell me, give me a little bit more history into that. So, and over here, this plot of land here, what looks like a little like a meeting garden, like a plaza. This is where Cirque du Soleil is. Actually, I think it's more over here, but general vicinity, and Planet Hollywood is this building right there. So I find that to be quite fascinating. And then Hotel Plaza Boulevard is here. Got the Hilton. Holiday Inn is this building, I believe, right here. And yeah, so we'll go back over here. Go ahead. Keep exploring around here. This is Old Key West, I believe. Or am I a little bit off? That's why I like doing this live, because I like to be corrected. This is Old Key West. Right? Yeah, because it's kind of like all sprawled out. And Old Key West would have opened up. Let me check my notes again. This is not a very, I mean, it's in a decent order. Okay, December 20th of 1991. So yeah. Yeah, this is Old Key West. This up here. What is this? The black and white's what's throwing me off. I know this is Golden Oaks and the golf course. That's going to bother me till I figure out what this is. Yep, doing it live, folks. We're going to do it live. Can I get some road names? River. Okay, I feel dumb. Great, good golly gosh, you're going to. Oh boy. Yep, for those of you screaming at the screen, yes, it is Port Orleans. French Quarter and Riverside, which opened in 91 and 92, respectively. It was called Dixie Landings when it first opened up in the 90s. So I believe at this time it was probably still called that. Yeah, so my bad. The black and white's what kind of threw me off. What people don't realize too here is I'm not going to go off on too much of a tangent here. Is just how close whenever you're staying at some of these resorts, how close you are to the actual park. Like you don't realize just how close you are. Like you feel like you're worlds away, but you're not that far away. Yeah, you're a pretty far distance. Like pull up the ruler here and we'll do a line in miles. So, my apologies for our international fans. We're going to stick with miles for the time being. But like whenever you're staying here in one of like the old Key West resorts and you draw a line, I mean, if you go to the edge of the park, you're only half a mile away, a little over half a mile away. Find that to be quite interesting. A lot of people think, oh, you're miles and miles and miles away. Well, the road network just kind of makes it feel that way. All right. I think we spent enough time here in the 90s. Let's go to the next. All right. We have jumped to 1999. A lot has changed at this point in time. Let's go ahead and go up here. So, does our times change? Can we go to Yeah, so we went from 95 to 99. So this is an image from January of 1999, starting from the north and working our way south. Magic Kingdom looks pretty much the same. And in fact, actually, for the most part, Magic Kingdom stayed pretty much the same. And I don't know if it was just the plan of the park. And since it was a copy or a replica or whatever you want to call it of Disneyland, and they wanted to keep, it as intact as they could, or, without going too wild, or what the deal was, or if they just wanted to maintain the magic there, that's up for, debate. But if we go here and check out what has changed is actually 95, it was there too. The convention center was added on to the contemporary. So if we zoom out just a little bit more, let's see, can we go back to the 90s? Yeah, it's not there. It's a blur. Don't get me wrong, it's a blur. But the convention center actually came on later in the 90s. So yeah, so let's see here. Fort Wilderness is over here. And Wilderness Lodge is looking good. Nothing much changed there. You've got Grand Floridian looking good. Polynesian's looking good. We got the parking lot. Yeah, that's looking good too. Now the racetrack. I wanted to talk about this. Really wanted to talk about it right off the bat. There's a lot of history here. There's a lot of really good YouTube videos out there that people talk about it. So go check them out. There's a lot of history there. You got the Mickey Lake and everything else, which, I want to know. I'm just weird this way, but I want to know the logistics of trenching this out and who did the math to figure out, okay, this is where the ears need to be, the head. We're going to, that just wasn't eyeballed. I know Disney too well. They spend a lot of time making sure that this is a perfect Mickey Mouse head. So who did the math? Please, I want to know. And really just be like, wow, like, I don't know. I like math, but you just can't tell me someone didn't go take the old, backhoe in there and just go to town. Like that's too perfect. So we got the racetrack there. This time there's actually races taking place up until it closed and got torn down in 2015. Whenever it was the Richard Petty driving experience, there was races here. There was a race here. I think it was an Indy 200 race, I believe, something like that. It wasn't the Indy 500 for sure, but it happened. There was a race here. The grandstands is what got me. It's like you got your straightaway, and then you got a couple stands there, and that was about it. I can't. I mean, I get it, but whatever. But what kind of blows my mind is, can we go back to 95? So the parking lot's there, and it doesn't take up a whole lot of it. But I'm just curious to know if anyone was ever there and what the parking lot was like as far as parking for this. I'm assuming you parked back here. I'm assuming you drove in, and then if you were there for the race, you break off because they got the lines here, and then you could come back out. But the race here now, what surprised me is I want to know what the the what it sounded like, because we're going to pull up the handy dandy ruler again in miles. So from the racetrack, so we're going to go from the closest point here to the Polynesian. So going from the edge of the track to the Polynesian to like the lobby area, which would be right about here, is about zero point 0.6 miles away. Going to the beach, it's like 0.65 miles. So that's okay. So we see that on the screen. It's zero point 0.6 miles. Cool. About 3/4 of a mile. Close out of the tool. And we're going to measure from the beach of the Polynesian to the park, to Magic Kingdom. So to the entry of Magic Kingdom, to the actual entrance, is the same distance away. And then you got, to the hub is 0.85 miles. And to the fireworks launch location, one of them is over a mile. But, to the castle, we'll just go to the castle, is zero point 0.9. So it's almost a mile away, which is kind of impressive. Like, if you stayed at the Polynesian and looked out across the water, you'll see the castle, see Cinderella's castle, but that's almost a mile away. Now, granted, we take everything with a grain of salt here, but nonetheless, you're still pretty close to the racetrack. Like, I just want to know, like, whenever they raced, like, what did it sound like? Now, there were no lights, so it was all daytime racing, so, which was fine. And obviously the racetrack was far away from the, if we go from, the start finish line to the park, it's, even to the entrance, it's a mile and a quarter away. So that's not a big deal, but still, it's like, that was really close. Like, you can't tell me there wasn't somebody complaining. So we'll go back over here now. We'll get off the racetrack tangent for just a moment. Even I find it to be very fascinating. I think it would have been neat. I really did want to do the the Richard Petty driving experience, but I just never found the time to be able to go do it, or more so to do the exotic driving experience is what I want to do. I've done the Richard Petty driving experience. Highly recommend it, even if you're not a NASCAR fan. I think it's pretty cool. Just an experience to say you did. Actually, we can see cars going around. So there's vehicles there, but there are cars. It looks like there's cars going around in that bank there. But we're going to back off of that for just a second. But anyway, I did want to do the exotic driving experience. Take a Porsche or a Ferrari or something like that around. So, and anyway, but yeah, never got a chance to do it. That's why you should just go do your thing. Do it while you think about it. Okay, so it's 99. Oh boy, we can see it. There it is. You can faintly see it, but the Epcot, the little wand emblem thing, I don't know if it's built yet or if it's just a shadow, but I'd find it hard to believe if it went up exactly, but it may have been. It's the Millennium Celebration, Epcot with the 2000 on it, and then they just changed it to say Epcot then. We see Test Track is here now, so that's one thing that's actually changed. So if we go back to 95, World of Motion's here. And then in 99, Test Track was built. And that was Test Track 1.0, not the Test Track 2.0 that you may or may not ride now. And the boardwalk has been built. So that resort is built and you can walk around and everything else. The Skyliner station is actually here. It is no longer this little weird kind of paved area. Anyways, so we got that. Fantasmic is now here, so we'll go ahead and back her off to 95. It was the parking lot in 95. And in 99, we have Fantasmic here. I feel like as though we may run out of time. We're going to do this for about 10 more minutes, but we may run out of time. I have to continue on here because I think a lot of stuff happens here in this period of time here. So we're going to back it up again to 95 parking lot. And in the late 90s is whenever the Tower of Terror got built and Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith got built. Still have the houses and so forth here. Catastrophe Canyon. I believe this looks like Walt's plane. I would imagine that would be Walt's plane. And ESPN Wide World of Sports has been built. So I don't know if I have the knowledge of when did that get built, because I got the resort hotels up. Yes, the Disney World Speedway was built in November 28th. Well, it opened on November 28th of 95. Cool. So, that last picture where we were back in, so we were only a few months off. Obviously, it's just some pavement and so forth. So, it doesn't take a whole lot to get built. Wide World of Sports opened on March 28th of 1997. 1997. So it was 2 years old. We got the one field house, and we got the nicer of the baseball diamonds. Got the track and field over here going on. Got our other baseball diamonds. So yeah, so quite a sprawling complex. I've never been inside the complex. I think we drove into it one time, but never been there. Never really had a desire or need to be there. Okay. We'll go ahead and cruise back up here to Hourglass Lake. Again, no Pop Century, no Art of Animation, which at this time it would have still been the other half of Pop Century, but we'll talk about that later. And the what I'm going to call the second STOL port, even though it's not technically a STOL port, STOL port, short takeoff and landing. It it's being used as storage at the for the time being, and Caribbean Beach services, that's all good. Caribbean Beach is still rocking and rolling, doing its thing. Now, before we go even further west, we have Coronado Springs. And Coronado Springs opened on August 1st of 1997. And we may just end here in just a second whenever I talk about where we get done with talking about Animal Kingdom, because there's something about a TV show, interesting enough, about between Coronado Springs and Animal Kingdom. All right, so Animal Kingdom has been built, but the hotels are not built. So if we look out here, there's the big old sand pit. So they don't come along. Animal Kingdom Lodge, actually, we're 2 years out till that comes along. So Animal Kingdom was built first. As we can see here, we got the dinosaur looking parking lot. Don't get me wrong, I think it's a good idea. I'm assuming that there was some zoning issues here with like water retention ponds and so forth that need to be built, because I just don't see anyone in their right mind building a parking lot like this. But to each their own. This is cast member parking lot now, I believe. No Pandora, none of that. No Rivers of Light. And right here, there is no Expedition Everest. None at all. We do have the Safari. The Safari is an opening day attraction. And we've got, well, it's Rafiki's Planet Watch. I don't know if that's what it was called whenever it first opened, but it's there. And I don't believe. Yep, there it is. Sorry, I was almost about to tell you something that wasn't true. Festival of the Lion King Theater is there. Now, it was torn down, and then they rebuilt it up here. But this plot of land here, we'll see transform again. But it is now the site of Pandora. But at this time, it's just a plain old swath of land. And Pride Rock for those Disney insiders. Here's Pride Rock, the cafeteria, cast member services area. So let's see here. Well, okay. Well, we got Blizzard Beach. Oh my goodness, can't believe it. We got Blizzard Beach here going. Which was built, it was in the 95 range as well. So that it was there. I must have just glossed over that one. As well as Typhoon Lagoon. I believe we talked about that in the last episode as well. Yes. And at this time, River Country is also chugging along. Oh dear, I'm way off course. Now, River Country's still open. This is 90s, the early 1999, late 90s. But Discovery Island actually is closed at this point. I'm fairly confident in saying that Discovery Island, it's still okay. So it is open in this picture, but it did close in April because Animal Kingdom is actually still getting built. It's not actually opened at this time. So over here, we're now back in Animal Kingdom. No. Never mind. I'm wrong. It was opened in 98. So yeah, never mind. Sorry. So Animal Kingdom was opened for a while. This is why I should do things with a script, I know. But it is open at this time, but Discovery Island's also open, but Discovery Island closed on April 8th of 99. So almost a year after after Animal Kingdom opened, which makes sense because it was kind of like a Discovery Island was more so a precursor to Animal Kingdom because it had animals and you wandered around and all that stuff. A lot of people think it should come back and be opened up as something else. I think there's also an idea for this to become the computer game Mystic Island or something along those lines. I don't know if that would ever really fit, but it was the late 90s, so to each their own. But nonetheless, so we're going to cruise back on down here. World Drive. So Blizzard Beach is there. So, but where I was going with that is Blizzard Beach and Typhoon Lagoon and River Country are all still open. Whenever we jump ahead here into the 2000s here, we'll be pretty close to closing. So it's still open. It's still rocking and rolling. But what I wanted to talk about here about Coronado Springs and Animal Kingdom, we're going to just stop right here. We'll stop moving around for just a second. The Disney show, was produced by Lake Buena Vista Productions, so basically Disney, was Sabrina the Teenage Witch. And there was an episode in 98 or 99. I want to say it was the second season, episode 22. I don't know why that's sticking out my head. Could be wrong, but there's one episode where she goes to Animal Kingdom. They go to Disney World to Animal Kingdom. Now, I find it quite interesting. It's not interesting, but it's more so publicity than anything else that, Disney likes to, promote different things in their shows to their theme parks. So what happened here was she goes to Animal Kingdom. How ironic. Animal Kingdom just opened up. Wow. So talk about your publicity stunt there. So what's interesting is that she's staying at Coronado Springs. And then she's going to Animal Kingdom. Now, for continuity's sake, yes, they're not going to show her traveling back and forth, but she's in the park one moment, and then she's at the hotel another moment. But it's like she leaves the park and goes to the hotel, and then she goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. No wonder people get upset that the things take so long to get places. They think like they can just walk through the woods and go back to their hotel. Again, that's not quite how that works. Let's pull up the measurement tool just to see how far away are we. So from Coronado Springs to Animal Kingdom, yeah, you're about a mile, depending, about 0.8 miles away from the very, very edge. But yeah, so that's quite interesting if you want to go back and see a little bit of history. I'm sure there's other TV shows. I know there's other TV shows, but that's one of the ones that I remember somewhat. I also rewatched the series a few times. But at any rate, yeah, so there's that. So that quite interesting. Go check that out. Like I said, it was I want to say it's season 2 for sure, but it could be a different season. But at any rate, she goes to Animal Kingdom. She actually rides the boats. I forget what the name of the boats, but there was a boat ride that actually took you around the waterways, and it's no longer there, the ride at least. The docks were there. I don't know if they've taken those away entirely, but I know whenever you used to walk in and you'd walk across, I forget if it was the first bridge or it was one of the bridges, you could see the actual dock, and it was always like, what is that? And then in the actual show, she rides the boat. So found that to be quite interesting. But yeah, those are no longer there. So let's go ahead and I don't know if we want to wrap this up just yet. All right. Oh yeah, we'll go back to downtown Disney at this time. So yeah, Cirque du Soleil is now built. Look at all the parking lot. Look at all that pavement. So we'll go back to 95. Yeah, so I was way off. I did not realize it expanded that much. But yeah, Saratoga Springs, I forget what the name of this is. Maybe by the next episode, I'll do a little bit more. Again, planning to do another stream next week. But at any rate, yeah, so Cirque du Soleil is now here, and this is what I would call, and someone's going to fight me, I know, that this is the um more traditional sense of downtown Disney, Disney Springs or whatever. This is kind of the way it stayed for the next 10, 15 years, give or take. Um, so this is, your classic, you got your West Side, Pleasure Island, and I call it the East Side, but they now call it the Marketplace. So whatever, to each their own. Whatever floats your boat. And you got Team Disney. Yep. So yeah, so there's that. We'll go ahead and jump up here one more time. I know I said we were going to do this for about 20 minutes, but so far we didn't really cover, I mean, we covered a whole lot, but let's go ahead and just bump up so we can say we're in the 2000s. Okay, February. Okay, so now, oh, color. Wow. All right. There's a lot going to be have to cover in the next episode, I guess. I guess now we actually have color. Now I can see things. I'm very visually, able to tell things by colors and so forth. So, yeah. Sorry, I just had to back it up there. So, all right. So, in the next episode, we're going to go through from the 2000s onward. We're going to this picture, the way that this imagery is, it just screams 2000, doesn't it? It's just that weird soft greens. Like I know it's the technology, but it's just like to me, there's just it's all right, and suddenly it becomes black and white. Again, this is all imagery, so yeah. But in 2002, there's a lot going on economically in the world, as at both in the world and at Disney. Uh, but the picture is, yeah, this is an older picture. So yeah, because right now we should see the beginning. We should see the Pop Century Resort. So we may just have to jump ahead a little bit more for the next episode. But at any rate, but yeah, so thanks everyone for tuning in and listening to me ramble on here a little bit. I really do appreciate everyone who comes over, follows, wants to watch along and so forth. I plan to do this again next week about the same time, about 7 p.m. Eastern time. I understand that that's 4 o'clock for those of you on the west coast of the United States, and who knows what time for those of you around the world. Uh, Again, maybe, let me know, comment, tell me if there's a different time or something like that that works for you, that sounds a little bit better. Again, I'm just doing this for the sheer sake of fun and having, doing it. Oh, look, yes, now I get it. Now it's Port Orleans. See, now I can zoom in, I can see the buildings and everything else. I'm just like, what is this building? But yes, it's the Port Orleans Resort. But yeah, so but yeah, no, I appreciate it. Like I said, next episode we'll go on. We'll just keep on going from the decades. All right. So yeah, trust me, we're gonna have a lot of fun, uh, especially here. But we're not gonna spoil that for too much here. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream here. I do appreciate it again, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully, you're doing well, staying safe and healthy. And as always, we will get through this together. I'm confident of it. I know things are getting put in place around the world to at least plan to reopen. I'm not saying, I'm an expert in, how things should reopen or anything like that, but at least we're looking towards the future. I think it's always good to have a plan in place, even if it's a very poorly planned YouTube live stream for the whole world to see and judge. But at any rate, but yeah, no. So I do appreciate it again. Be sure to check out Fast Pass Podcast for past episodes that are relevant, but they're not that relevant now, I guess, since the theme parks are closed. But hey, thank you again to everyone who's tuned in. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for subscribing. All that good stuff. And we'll catch you next week. Thanks again, and stay safe. Be well.